He did make a video on that. Nah, Eruption Fang makes some pretty decent videos. He just doesn't make them enough. He makes like one video every 3 months, and then just goes away. Let's go ahead and see what he has to say about this.
So I've done a video.
Let's go ahead and make this full screen, turn this up for you guys a little bit, and let's go.
So I've done a video on what happened to the Vault Hunters after Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, but probably the most anticipated one was what happened to the characters after the events of Tales from the Borderlands.
I don't understand why new Tales from the Borderlands didn't just continue Sasha and Fiona's story. I mean, I guess they wrapped up Reese with him, you know, being the owner of Atlas, which is stupid. He should have been the owner of Hyperion, and fucking Athena should have been the owner of Atlas. I don't know why Athena owns Atlas and Hyperion is I mean, fuck talk, man. It's 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. But anyway, I don't know why Athena owns Hyperion and Reese owns Atlas. It's backwards. But let's continue.
It was a mystery for the longest time, and after almost 10 years since the game's release, we finally know what happened thanks to Borderlands: Dead or Alive. It was a book released on June 25th, 2024. It was written by Anthony Burch, the same person who wrote Borderlands 2 and worked on the original Tales as well as the new one. It's meant to serve as a...
Now, I do want to preface this by saying that Anthony Burch did work on new Tales from the Borderlands. However, I don't think he was fully given writing credits. I think he was more of just a consultant. And then after the work was done, it was sent over to Sweet Baby Inc. And, you know, they diversified all over the place.
A true sequel to Tales, as
they were like, let's make a magic crystal that heals everybody except for the person that's in the wheelchair. Like, it brings her back to life, but it doesn't bring her out of the wheelchair. You gotta stay in the wheelchair. That's your burden.
Dead or Alive literally picks up where Tales left off. This video is more so meant so I can talk about the book. I don't want to give a point-by-point recap of everything that happened.
I would like a point-by-point recap of everything that happened, Eruption Fang. If you feel like making that video, I will take a gander at that. But I don't feel like I'm going to read this book at all, ever.
I'll probably save that for when I redo the Borderlands timeline. I more so wanted to go over a lot of
I look forward to that video, Eruption Fang.
The general bullet points. What did we learn from this book for those curious? So there's no beating around the bush. Let's just get straight into it.
See, this is what I mean. This is why the Iridian folklore and connection to the Volts with the sirens and shit all need to be explored. Look how cool that is. Like, that is fucking fire. Why would Gearbox not focus on this and focus on garbage, you know, characters? Like, let's make a game about a turd farmer and his 2 spoiled children.
The question that was on everyone's mind was what was inside the Vault of the Traveler? What was the treasure that Reese and Fiona found? The answer is a wish. A more advanced type of Iridian Guardian resided inside that was able to grant one wish each of the 2 wanted.
Maybe Anthony Burch did write the story with the magic crystal. Because now he's writing a story about Borderlands characters being granted wishes.
In this book, Reese wished for Atlas, or at least the legal rights to the company, which...
Why would he want Atlas and not Hyperion? What is he, like, what connection does Reese have with Atlas other than they found the fucking, you know, the Atlas gun and the fucking deed to Atlas in the first Tales from the Borderlands? Like, he would want Hyperion. He worked for Hyperion. The whole, like, Tales from the Borderlands is centered around him being a Hyperion employee.
Already was not a great call from this book. From the jump, it's such a negation of his agency as a character. Even at the end of Tales, he has a line where he says how he worked for all of this.
Was there ever a doubt There were many.
Well, I wasn't looking at it that way. I worked a long time to get here. I've earned this. Atlas didn't just fall into my lap, I had to take it. Both literally and figuratively.
But now, obtaining Atlas...
I don't think I got that line in my Tales from the Borderlands playthrough. It's possible that that's a static line that everybody gets, but I really don't remember that line. I feel like he should have been more of a better fit for Hyperion.
Atlas literally did fall into his lap. So that's
what I'm saying. Yeah, you opened up a fucking box and there was a deed to Atlas in there. You didn't work for it. You didn't earn nothing. There was nothing earned along everything you did along the way was with Hyperion, bro. You literally took down the Hyperion fucking Helios space station. Like you took down Hyperion from the inside out. Now you should want to rebuild it from the ground up. That's what makes sense.
Not great. It really takes away from his literal hard work. As for Fiona, her wish...
That's what I'm saying. All his hard work was to dismantle Hyperion. So he should want to grow it from the ground up in his own image. That is how it's like a straight juxtaposition of Hansel Jack. Like Ego just said in the chat. Hansel Jack strangled, lied, murdered, cheated his way up the ladder. And Reese did exactly the opposite. And he struggled his whole way up to take Hyperion down. His character arc, being Atlas's owner, and then becoming a megalomaniac fucking corporate owner, makes no sense. It literally just spits in the face of his entire character arc.
Is a little more nuanced as to whether or not it was the right decision. A big theme in this book is Fiona's relationship with her sister, Sasha. Seeing her die at the end of Tales caused her in this book to become very protective over her sister's life, and now she wants to avoid her death again. So she wishes for money. The Guardian can't really put infinite money into their bank account, so instead the two tell it to create a first edition, mint condition, Typhon de Leon Vaultlander figure. Yes, that gimmick is still
They're really pushing super hard for this Vaultlander thing to be a side project of Gearbox's. And they need to really just let that one go. And writing that into the story of Dead or Alive as how Sasha and Fiona get a shit ton of fucking money is just it's corporatization at its finest. This is a literal story about fucking Vault Hunters fighting against the greed of these corporate fucking assholes, the megalomaniacs that run these corporations. And they're doing the same thing with the Borderlands fucking franchise and running it into the ground. It's actually fucking hilarious.
Around from new Tales. In fact, a few things are still around from that game, but we'll get to that. The figure is worth tens of billions of dollars, and once they sell it, Fiona and Sasha will be able to retire for the rest of their life. One last job. So that is what was inside the Vault of the Traveler. Reese's path from here is pretty straight.
So basically, what inside that was basically a fucking Typhon de Leon bobblehead. And the fact that they're still harping on Typhon de Leon as an actual plot point just shows us that Borderlands 4 is going to be awful. You know that, right?
Straightforward. As the new CEO of Atlas, he worked on rebuilding the company by creating his own brand new tech, like robots and the smart bullets for their weapons. He oversaw the construction of a brand new Atlas headquarters on Promethea, where the company previously had its roots, and its military force,
and he's a bumbling idiot.
The Crimson Lance, was also revived, with Zero not necessarily leading it, but being Reese's top guy. Zero, after the events of Tales, really stuck by him to help him out, and under his leadership, Atlas once again managed to reach mega...
I really hate that they turned Zero into like this cool, like mysterious assassin that had his like he had his own reasons for doing things, and it never really went into it. But now they just turned him into kind of just Reese's right hand. He's the guy that goes out and does what Reese wants, and I guess they're trying to tie Zero back to the Atlas assassins, you know, the Valkyrie squad that we saw come through in the General Knox DLC. And I guess that would be like the first earliest that we've seen a prototype of what Zero is, but it would be really cool if we could see, like, you know, a backstory of Zero and how Zero came about.
Corporation status. Something else we did learn in this book is that to address his voice actor change, Reese has canonically had vocal cord surgery so he could sound more professional, for a lack of a better.
Okay, Gearbox, if you're just gonna write garbage like this, where you're just like, oh, Reese had vocal cord surgery to explain his voice actor, like, you could have easily fucking turned that into like a COVID joke, and it was like, you know, I got sick on fucking Promethea, and now I have, like, I don't know, you can make a fucking COVID joke, you know, long whatever, make it whatever the fuck you want to call it in there. You know how they have like turbo cancer and fucking the skull shivers and shit like that? You could be like, I have long shivers or something, you know?
Term. It's the same reason he also grew a mustache. It's supposed to convey trustworthiness, masculinity, and culture. Anyway, Reese's success.
No, that mustache is absolutely awful, and the fact that they made it canon really chaps my ass, because every time I play Borderlands 3, I make him take that fucking shit off. It's absolutely terrible. It looks like somebody wiped their ass right across his face.
In rebuilding Atlas garnered the attention of one Katagawa Jr. He's the head of mergers and acquisitions for the Maliwan Corporation. Seeing the value in Reese's talents, he sought to acquire both Atlas as a company and gain Reese's friendship. But after he rejected that proposition, Katagawa escalated things and attempted to forcibly take both of them. He doesn't really know how to make friends. So Reese is...
When I was first playing this, I knew that wasn't Zero, because they purposely, if you look, they gave him 5 fingers. Zero has 4. I don't know if a lot of you guys have ever noticed that, but Zero does not have a pinky. Zero has 4 fingers. That's why I think it would be cool to, you know, go through and find out exactly what Zero is, who he is. Is he a robot? Is he an Iridian? Is he an alien we haven't seen before? Is he part stalker hybrid tech? What you know, where does Zero come from? Who is he?
Take both of them. He doesn't really know how to make friends. So Reese is kinda left to being forced to defend Promethea from a Maliwan invasion. He called for reinforcements and an army, but all he got were 4 Vault Hunters. Flack,
That's basically a whole fucking army.
Zane, Mose, and Amara helped defend Atlas and fend off the Maliwan forces. After a few too many losses, Katagawa does give up on trying to absorb Atlas and instead turns to destroying it. But that too is thwarted and he's eventually killed. As for Fiona and Sasha, as I stated, with a multi-billion-dollar mint-condition Typhon de Leon Vaultlander figure,
I still can't get over that. Like, it's just the fact that not only are they doubling down on the Vaultlander figures, they're ignoring the fact that, you know, you had the whole Marcus bobbleheads. You could have, and they're not in this series anymore. She could have had like a Marcus bobblehead that was worth tens of millions that made more sense than a Typhon de Leon statue. Because number 3, the fact that they're still doubling down on Typhon de Leon being a major plot point in the Borderlands universe means that they're not moving on from the Borderlands 3 story, and the Borderlands 4 story is probably going to be even worse than what we expect. Just like you know how the Borderlands movie was worse than what we expected? Trust that I feel like we're probably going to be seeing Typhon de Leon being brought back through Tannis's having his DNA from Borderlands 3. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a Typhon DeLeon Vault Hunter in Borderlands 4, and he's a clone that Tannis brought back from having a lock of Typhon DeLeon's hair.
Their goal is to sell it.
Instead of being all short, she genetically enhanced him to be all buff and like in the pictures and the videos that you see in the movies. He's gonna actually look like Typhon DeLeon and not fucking Danny DeVito.
So they can retire. Their buyer is one Countess Holloway of Eden 5. If that name sounds familiar, it should, because it's a family heavily tied to Gage's backstory. To give you a refresher, Gage had a rival in her class named Marcy Holloway. She was very much a spoiled...
Now, those of you guys that don't know, Marcy Holloway is the girl that Deathtrap accidentally killed when she made Deathtrap to be an anti-bully device. And when she was at her science fair, Marcy was being all mean to her, tried to steal Deathtrap's design, made it to be a fucking like a police bot, and then Deathtrap murdered her. And that's why she went to Pandora.
Rich girl who always got what she wanted. Her family had tons of money, she was obsessed with celebrities and gossip and that sort of lifestyle. A complete polar opposite to Gage. But during a science fair where Gage had designed and subsequently built Deathtrap, Marcy had stolen the designs and made her own lesser version. But due to her dad paying off the judges, Marcy...
These little Deathtrap things that you see in Borderlands 3, the police bots, are the direct result of the Deathtrap technology being stolen by Marcy Holloway. Her parents ended up stealing that technology, selling it to, I think, Hyperion or some other company, and they created their own fucking police bots off of it, and that's why Gage is depressed and fucking drinking in Borderlands 3.
Things got heated between them, Marcy shoved Gage, and Deathtrap accidentally murdered Marcy. This is why she initially fled to Pandora, to escape the police on...
I like Eruption Fang's bitches, but I wish he would just, like, say what happened and then just play, like, a 30-40 second cutscene clip of the echo from the game and just let us hear it, because the Gage's echoes are some of the best writing that you ever see in Borderlands, and nobody ever hears them because nobody collects all her echoes in Borderlands 2.
On her home planet. Since then, the Holloway family has mass-produced these lesser DT units where they serve as crime buster bots. They've pretty much taken over the entire police force on the planet, which was already corrupt to begin with. And from the sounds of it, they seem like they have really been integrated into the system of how Eden 5 now functions and is controlled. To give you...
You know, I wish we would see more of Gage's home world in the Borderlands series, but they never fucking showed it! Instead, we get to go to Eden 6, a world filled with dinosaurs and not much else.
You an idea of...
Oh, and Hammerlock and Wainwright, but... I like Wainwright, but their characters should be focused on more than just their relationship. I'd like to see, you know, them actually explore who they are as people rather than as a couple.
Eden 5,
especially Wainwright.
As a planet, it seems as if there are billionaires who run and control everything, and commoners...
I know Gage is from Eden 5, but they never showed Eden 5 on any of the fucking Borderlands cutscenes or anything. We've never seen it, and like Eruption Fang's saying, Eden 5 is supposed to be, you know, a world full of fucking, you know, billionaires and fucking large, you know, high-rise luxury fucking apartments and shit like that. And the fact that they've had this planet in the Borderlands series for 10 years and we've never even seen a picture of it is just a fucking travesty.
Who are slaves to debt. There's an absurd amount of laws in place, and if you break them, you will be fined, and if you can't pay them off, then a debt cuff is placed on you until you are able to pay it off. This is all able to be enforced thanks to the crime buster bots. So that's kind of the gist.
So I guess, yeah, exactly why he said He said, this is the gist. I was like, exactly why they're calling this Debt or Alive. I'm guessing something happens, they get a debt fucking placed onto them, and they can't get rid of the fucking, the Voltlander statue, or somebody steals it off them, and they gotta go and fucking grab it back or something. It seems like this Typhon DeLeon Voltlander statue is a plot point and device that Gearbox is using to push forward in this story, and try to get you kind of used to hearing about Voltlander statues, because I promise you they want to spin this off into their own Gwent-style game.
Of Eden 5. I should also preface that Debt or Alive is a pre-Borderlands 3 story, so it's before all of this COV stuff happened and before Reese rebuilt Atlas to its...
So, if Debt or Alive is a pre-Borderlands 3 story, then why couldn't this just be new Tales from the Borderlands? Why did we have to have magic crystals and Lorelei becoming Lore and all this awful shit in New Tales from the Borderlands? It sounds like this book is what New Tales from the Borderlands should have been.
Status. Anyway, Fiona and Sasha have come here to sell Countess Holloway the figure. The box gets a little beaten up and bloodied on the way there, lowering its value, but eventually she does agree to buy it.
If you're traveling with something worth tens of billions of dollars, wouldn't you try to protect that as best as possible?
Except, Gage has come back to the planet for revenge as Holloway murdered her dad. A new development in this book is that Gage...
Okay, now that's actually big news, because, like I said, in the Borderlands 2 Echoes that, like, nobody ever listens to, Gage is really close with her dad. Alright, her dad's actually a really sweet man. He brings her cocoa, and he supports her, and, you know, he was like, fuck Marcy and all that, you know what I mean? He's like, you know, fucking, we're gonna beat her at the science fair and everything, so... And her dad is the one that gets her off of Eden 5 while she's being pursued by the police. So, hearing that Marcy Holloway, her family... Let me hear what he said again.
...planet for revenge as Holloway murdered her dad.
I'm guessing Holloway is Marcy Holloway's dad. They didn't... I probably heard it earlier in this video, but I'm guessing that's who he's saying as just Holloway.
A new development in this book is that Gage's dad has been killed as punishment for her daughter's actions after...
Yes, this book was made after New Tales from the Borderlands, but the story takes place before Borderlands 3 Eruption Fang said.
A new development in this book is that...
Which means that Gage is still a wine-swilling millennial that's disappointed with how her fucking life has turned out. This book doesn't really retcon that. What you were saying is she's still a Volt Hunter. She's not, because this sounds like this is what leads into Gage being a depressed alcoholic fucking millennial.
Her dad. A new development in this book is that Gage's dad has been killed as punishment for her daughter's actions after having fled. So Gage wants to kill Countess Holloway. In the process, Gage interrupts...
Okay, so Countess Holloway would probably be Marcy's mom. I'm sorry. I automatically assumed he's just saying Holloway. I didn't hear him say Countess earlier, but I heard him say Holloway, so that's Countess Holloway is her mom. I got you.
Their deal, and goes so far as to break the Voltlander figure over the Countess's head. Considering she was their buyer, Fiona and Sasha during the...
Alright. I fuck with Gage a lot. And I've told you that they've assassinated her character in Borderlands 3 by turning her from this amazing, autonomous, independent, punk rock personified fucking girl, you know? She literally, like, anarchy forever! She personifies, like, the punk rock fucking attitude. And that's what made Gage awesome. And to hear that they turned her into just a slave to her own emotions, taking fucking the statue, breaking it over Countess Holloway's head, is completely out of character. Gage would have shot that bitch or set death trap after him. Gage would not have ruined Sasha's fucking $10 billion figure by fucking breaking it over her head. That's completely out of character.
Scuffle worked to protect her and in fact saved her life until Gage was forced to retreat. With no more product to actually purchase, Holloway offered the two $16 billion if they could capture Gage. And after accruing a bit of debt themselves, they eventually decide to go for it. Or at least...
So, they turned this whole story where Sasha and Fiona, who are cool with all the Vault Hunters, are now bounty hunting Gage to get back the money that Gage broke. Man, this is character assassination across the board.
Fiona did. Going after a Vault Hunter is dangerous, and as I mentioned before,
it is dangerous, and Fiona and Sasha aren't really Vault Hunters. Especially Fiona. She only has a gun that shoots 3 bullets at a time. Now, it sounds like a golden gun from Destiny, but she ain't no fucking hunter. She ain't out here fucking turning on fire. She got a shock, she got a corrosive, and she got a fire shot. That's it. That's all she has. I would not put my trust into somebody that has a 3-shot gun to fucking go after Gage.
Fiona is very protective of her sister after her death, so she locks her up and goes after Gage alone. Long story short, Sasha breaks free, and the two destroy Death Trap, and Gage gets captured. Countess...
How does this take place before Borderlands 3 and they destroy Death Trap? We must keep going.
Holloway pays them $8 billion, and the two have the money to fully retire. And they do. They buy a mansion, they have all sorts of butlers and house servants to tend to their every need, and spending money on whatever random knickknack they see. And you know...
Yeah, like I said, for a series of people that are fighting against, you know, corporatization and corporate greed, you know, they sold these characters out pretty fast. You know, Reese was like, yeah, sure, I'll own a fucking company, and Fiona's like, yeah, give me a mansion with all the fucking trimmings. Like, it's completely out of character and just shows you where Gearbox and the writers' mindsets are. They're like, we need to tell a story about how it's okay to sell out and live the comfortable life, because that's what we want from our content creators. The struggle is no longer there. There's no more hunger from these writers. They're all just satisfied with life. So they're like, let's give them the happy ending instead of actually like creating, you know, more conflict and struggles and strife for them to overcome.
I gotta say, it's unfortunate that this book chose to go down the path of making Fiona's life all about money. Like I said earlier, it's complicated.
Thank you! Thank you, Eruption Fang!
If this was the right decision, because from a character standpoint, it's understandable that she would think money would solve their problem, and it was for the sake...
I get that, but as somebody like her that has lived without money, I can tell you that I know from my own perspective, the reason I will never sell out to Gearbox is because I grew up without money. I'm okay with living without money. I don't need a ton of money to get by, to be happy, to be comfortable. And that should be Fiona's entire fucking mindset. Reese should be the one that should be more wanting to own, like, a company, but it should have been Hyperion because he struggled for it. He don't give a fuck about Atlas. Like, what the fuck does Atlas mean to him at all? He's a fucking Hyperion employee who came up from the ground up and took down the whole fucking space station. He had the deed to Hyperion in his hand in the end of Tales from the Borderlands. I chose that Reese should rule Hyperion, but I guess they just want to throw that ending to the wind.
Of protecting a loved one. But there was one very obvious lesson by the end of the original Tales, and it was not to let money drive your existence.
Thank you!
Knock it off now, right?
I am sure you will make a fortune as a vault hunter. Obviously, money isn't everything. Sure, it's important, but it doesn't have to drive your existence like it did mine. There's a healthy balance out there. Somewhere.
And yet now, in all of the material sense, Reese's character has been assassinated by literally making his entire existence all about
This is exactly what I was saying. Like, his entire character arc from Tales from the Borderlands was assassinated. You know what I mean? He learned that money isn't everything, and that the struggle along the way is what, you know, is what gives you the right to have that money. You earned it. You earned it through struggle. You weren't just given it, you know? And then that's why he should be the head of Hyperion and not Atlas. In fact, he should have took the deed to Atlas and given it to Athena, just because he'd be like, look, I own Hyperion, I don't need Atlas, and money isn't everything. I know Atlas means a lot to you. Bloom. That would have been perfect for Reese's fucking character arc, to how Atlas would be owned by Athena, because she has a fucking, you know, she's an Atlas assassin. And then how Reese would be the owner of Hyperion, and that would make sense in the power vacuum that's left in those companies.
Making money and giving Atlas the motto, the almighty dollar. And in this, Fiona, all she cares about is letting money drive her existence. Now, it's not as bad as what...
Now, like I said, do you see exactly what I mean? Is Gearbox's entire mindset from their writers is, oh, money's important. How much money can we get? How much... They turned the Vote Hunters from fucking, like, freedom fighters into fucking corporate fucking Vote Hunters. They're looking for fucking money now and shit. And the Vote Hunters weren't looking for fame and fortune, and they heard that there was some shit going on, and they were fucking checking it out. You know what I mean?
New Tales did to Reese. In fact, I think...
Like, every single one of the Vote Hunters has their own reason for being on Pandora, and none of them are fucking about money. In fact, Brick's whole reason was looking for his sister, but they never brought that back into the story, did they? No. They could have made Tiny Tina his sister. We're like, oh shit, we found her. But no, they didn't.
I think this book does try to amend it, even if just with a single line. While on a call with Sasha,
Tiny Tina being Brick's sister would make sense too, because she likes explosions.
Reese does tell her that it's not all about money. It doesn't really amount to anything, but he says it. All this money is for the sake of ensuring Sasha's safety, so I get it. It's not shallow, but I wish Reese's were...
It really is shallow, though, because if you think about it, trying to do everything possible to try to keep somebody out of danger means that you're trying to keep them from living, too, because living is dangerous. You know, I get that you lost your sister in Tales from the Borderlands, and somehow she was able to come back. I forget how. It's just that's how forgettable that fucking story was. But man, it just that's super shallow. It's like, all I want is you not to die and shit. Like, how about you just enjoy the life you have with your sister and realize that everybody dies, and that's just an eventuality of life.
Words held weight in the content sense.
That holds more weight than, oh, I need to stop you from dying. That's super shallow and superficial as a storytelling device.
Because we're regressing these characters to put them through the exact same development that they've already been through. Both of their stories were kind of about these two people who are from completely different worlds who came to find purpose in their life.
Thank
Reese
you!
Not looking up to false idols, not letting money drive his existence, and being able to run a company in the right and meaningful way.
Exactly! That was Reese's whole character. Oh my god. I need to have a talk with Eruption Fang or something, yo. This motherfucker actually understands the Borderlands series in the same way that I understand the Borderlands series, in the same way that the fans understand the Borderlands series, but Gearbox doesn't. I need to speak with Eruption Fang, yo.
And Fiona was her come up into the life of a vault hunter. It was something that she took up to very naturally, so
I don't really think of her as becoming a vault hunter, more of like an adventurer, but I think she doesn't really have any special skill or talent outside of that 3-shot gun. And yeah, I guess you could build a fucking vault hunter around a 3-shot gun, but it would just be a fucking ripoff of Destiny and another ripoff of Flak, which is another ripoff of Destiny, because all the characters from Borderlands 3 are just ripoffs of Destiny.
So you would have expected the continuation of her story to be that of a vault hunter, because that is where her entire story led.
Adventurer.
But it doesn't. She wants money. She wants to get away.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is her whole existence now is based around money, to the point to where she's actually hunting down Gage now. A seasoned vault hunter versus an amateur vault hunter. And Gage has Death Trap. She's got fucking, and apparently she killed Death Trap, but Death Trap's in Borderlands 3 too. But we'll just ignore that. But she has no actual skills to go up against Gage in her anarchy, and close enough, bro. She just gonna shoot right around the corner and kill you, bitch. You dead.
Away from all of that danger. So this book makes you wind up feeling like, what was the entire point of her journey? And I get it, it makes sense that Sasha dying would have affected her, and now she would want to protect her. But in this story, it isn't that healthy balance that Reese spoke of. It does drive her existence, so I can't help but feel like even
it's not even a healthy balance. Between that, it's a healthy balance in the writing. She doesn't have a healthy balance of anything like motivational, because her want to stop Sasha is superficial, and her want and her fucking like her want is superficial, and the way she goes about acquiring the means to keep Sasha safe is superficial. Like, all the motivation here is superficial, surface level bullshit. Nothing goes deeper than just, oh, I don't want her to die, and oh, I need a bunch of money.
even putting her down this path, even though temporary, feels wrong. But anyway, yes, as I said, their rich, extravagant life does eventually get boring, specifically from Sasha's perspective. Something inside her feels empty.
That's exactly.
She doesn't know if she actually likes Reese or the date.
See, she feels empty because she's not living. That's what I said. If you're trying to protect somebody and you keep them locked away in a box, even if it's a mansion with millions of dollars, and you can do whatever you want in the mansion, but you never leave, you're going to feel empty. You're going to feel a hole inside of you because you're not living. You're just existing.
Danger that they were in together. So she seeks to fill that hole inside of her. She uses her money to bribe the guards.
I'll help her fill that hole inside of her.
Keeping Gage, and rescues her so they can hunt a vault to see if that makes her feel better. It doesn't. Now, why would
He said it doesn't.
Gage help her out after helping her greatest enemy? Well, that's where another plot device comes in. Remember at the end of Tales when Sasha died but was revived? Well, we learn how that was done. And much to the chagrin of those hoping new tales from the Borderlands would be retconned, a piece of the extant Anahadium shard was stored inside. For those of you who haven't played the game,
Oh boy, they are doubling down on the crystal shard as a plot device.
shard is basically ultimate healing. It's pretty much impossible to die when in possession of it. It's also like a literal god that is able to...
See, I show you right here, look. It brings her back to life. But she's still in a wheelchair throughout the movie. Well, throughout the game. It doesn't heal her out of the wheelchair because diversity reasons.
Haven't played the game, the shard is basically ultimate healing. It's pretty much impossible to die when in possession of it. It's also like a literal god that is able to Thanos wipe the universe if it wanted to. It's stupidly all-powerful. But somehow Felix had a piece of
Introducing this shard into the Borderlands series is going to be the downfall of the Borderlands series. 100%. Because they're going to focus on it as a plot device for Borderlands 4, and that means Borderlands 4 is going to be garbage.
That shard hidden inside, which is what prevented her from dying. Sasha promised to use it on Gage's dad if she took her vault hunting. She did. They opened the vault, nothing was inside but guns and loot, and so they tried using the shard on Gage's dad, but it didn't work. I thought this was the first sign of the shard not being all-powerful, and maybe there was a limit.
I'm guessing because it wasn't the actual shard, but because it was only a piece that was inside that timepiece or whatever the fuck that was. That's why it said time heals all wounds at the end of New Tales from the Borderlands, because it was just like a once-use trinket.
Gage's dad was too far gone for too long to simply be healed. But this is literally just a fragment of that shard, not the whole ass spirit that's able to freely mass genocide the universe. So I think in its full form, it'd still be able to revive whoever.
See, it's exactly what I thought. It's exactly what I thought. It being like a shard inside of a trinket that says time heals all wounds possibly is just like, hey, this is kind of like a mulligan. It's a do-over for you. If somebody gave it to him and was like, if you ever get in trouble, this will save the day type deal.
Whatever the hell it wants. But anyway, let me rapid fire the rest of the plot, as it's pretty straightforward. With Gage freed, she's back on her plan to kill Countess Holloway. But first, she has to find and repair Deathtrap. Sasha and Fiona talk about their feelings and agree.
So that's how we get Deathtrap back in Borderlands 3. Okay, so Gearbox has no agency on any deaths at all. They're like, let's just write a story that's pre-Borderlands 3. You're reading it, you've already know Deathtrap is in Borderlands 3, so now you're reading it and you're like, oh, Deathtrap's dead. There's no weight to that, because you know she's going to repair and fix him before Borderlands 3. Like I said, everything that's written here is shallow and superficial and is typical Anthony Burch.
That they should also probably help kill the Countess. Holloway does stop by to gloat and even tell them how suicidal it is to try and kill her. Apparently, the billionaires of Eden 5 have an agreement that if someone tries to kill one of them, they'll all team up and pile their resources to hunt whoever was responsible.
That sounds like the Gearbox shills! Anybody that attacks Randy or Gearbox, they go and gatekeep the community from them. The juxtaposition of real life is absolutely fucking mirroring what we see Gearbox doing. Oh my god, this is perfect.
It helps keep them in check from murdering one another for their money. So
see? It keeps the Gearbox shills from murdering each other, so they only go after other people that they... Oh my god. They literally, like, exposed their whole plot in this book. Gearbox literally just showing you exactly how they stole the Borderlands community over the last 5 years in this book.
So killing Holloway means a lot more problems than just her. So Sasha and Fiona try to get more strategic about how they can help the people of Eden 5, while Gage doesn't care. She'll take them all on. But Gage does wind up having to surrender her.
That's because Gage is a punk rock bitch, yo, and they're fucking anarchy forever. You know, bitch will fucking stack up some anarchy and just go ham with some pellets.
Herself when Holloway begins using orbital lasers that start wiping a ton of innocent residences. So to get her to stop, she turns herself over. Fiona and Sasha try an alternate plan of earning enough money to pay off every slaver's debt and free the planet, but that plan kinda blows up in their face and they return to their initial plan of just killing Holloway. They rally a ton of people, rescue, and subsequently team.
See, that could have been a whole cool plot point of them trying to figure out how the fucking they could have like fucking looking for new votes and shit like that to get the riches, to fucking to free everybody on Eden 5 from debt and shit like that. But instead they're like, no, we're just gonna go kill some people. That's how shallow and superficial the Borderlands series has always been.
team up with Deathtrap, and together they all free Gage yet again. When it's all said and done, Gage gets to kill Holloway by throwing her down a pit.
And hearing about Gage being fucking captured in this book, and there's, like I said, there's no threat, there's no agency in this, because you already know Gage shows up in Borderlands 3 as a characterly assassinated, wine-drinking, depressed millennial housewife who's sad that her life didn't turn out the way it is, so she just sits there fucking watching soap operas and drinking wine. Like, there's no point to this story at all. This story should have actually been the new Tales from the Borderlands, and led into the new Tales from the Borderlands story in the book. But that way, at least if they introduced the whole Shard and the Shard God in the book series, you know, they could have fucking wiped it out and nobody would have known about it, and we could have kept on with just the Borderlands story. But now we got this fucking Shard that we have to deal with, and it's not going away, because this is the second property that's been released after Borderlands 3 that has featured this fucking Shard.
And welcomes whatever the billionaires have to throw at her. Fiona and Sasha are apparently the reason why we see Gage as a party planner in Borderlands 3. She saw how valuable and useful money was by seeing the two free people's debt, and so thought that she'd earn money by picking up a side gig, which happened to be wedding planning. Not a great explanation, genuinely. Opening
That's what I'm saying. Like, if there's money and guns inside these vaults, why don't you just keep opening vaults? That's a, like I said, they're trying to come up with a way to retcon how Gage ended up where she is, but we can all just agree that the Borderlands community is absolutely up in arms over the fact that they assassinated Gage's character.
vaults should be more lucrative, but they needed some excuse as to why she was doing it. Fiona and Sasha's story ends with them accepting the Vault Hunter life. They feel like they could do good in the universe by helping people, while also opening a few vaults in the process. They leave off exactly where we thought they left off last time. So it was one big roundabout story that led us to...
Yeah, it's a big nothing burger. Everything that happened in this has no cause or effect, or even gives us a larger insight into the Borderlands universe. It's literally just a cash grab, and the story is how Gearbox stole fucking the Borderlands community, and they just turned it into a Borderlands story.
The exact same conclusion as Tales, so that's not great. Arguably, their story in this book was more about them dealing with death and how that made them feel, and coming to trust one another with how they wanted to.
But that still makes no sense, because at the end, you're saying that they set her up to be a Vault Hunter or an adventurer. You know, like, if you're going to be a Vault Hunter or an adventurer, you have to be okay with death. You got to look death in the face and be like, fuck you.
Act in their life. I get it, but I don't know if this whole story was necessary to do it. A couple of other things that happened is that they lost the piece of the shard that they had, which is why, at the end of New Tales, Fiona is seen hunting it down. She believes it's a way to cure death, and she's not wrong. What isn't answered is what happened to Sasha. The book is left off on the two deciding to explore and hunt vaults together, but during Borderlands 3, Reese is heard panicking as he hasn't heard from nor is able to locate Sasha. It wasn't the events of this book, as he was in contact with them multiple times during and after, so we're still uncertain as to where Sasha is.
So, how are you gonna... Remember Gearbox advertised this book? It's like, if you want to find out what happened to Fiona and Sasha, read this book. And then you read it and they're like, nothing happened to them, and we don't know where Sasha is still from Borderlands 3. Awesome.
In modern day. The book does have some contradictions, however. Like, for one,
A Borderlands story with contradictions? That should be the thumbnail.
never makes mention of Gage's mom. Arguably, her dad was much more prominent and played the active role in her life, even taking care of the assassin sent after Gage in the Victim of Vault Hunters mission. But Gage did still have a mom.
Smash the system!
Gage, honey, you can keep it down. Your mother's trying to sleep.
Sure, Dad!
But her mother was kind of more inattentive. Her dad was always shown as being the primary caregiver of her household. And see, this is what I mentioned earlier. He should have put some of those voice lines in about that 4 or 5 minute when he was talking about Gage. These are some of the better voice lines in the Borderlands series.
Smash the system!
And on the flip side, it was interesting that they chose to focus on Countess Holloway when Gage was always complaining about Marcy's dad.
Yeah.
Marcy Holloway's already got her dad's indentured laborers.
See, that's what I was saying. Like, that's why I thought it was her dad. Because her dad was always the one that was running the corporation and shit like that. And it was like, it was a juxtaposition of Marcy was the exact opposite of Gage. Gage was young. Well, I mean, they're both young. But Gage was independent. She was fucking, you know, she was fucking punk rock. She did things for herself. And she was, you know, she invented shit. She was smart. Marcy was dumb. She was fucking given everything, anything she wanted, her dad would buy her, and she never had to do anything for her on her own. So that's like, that was the whole thing, was Marcy and her dad and Gage and her dad. Very similar stories with fucking, very similar stories, but opposite of each other in character, in terms of personality.
Working on a miniature thermosonic energy reactor because evidently all the money in the galaxy can't buy you originality. Stupid rich bourgeoisie jerkbags. I figured rich.
See how she's stupid rich bougie jerkbags? You think she would end up fucking wanting to fucking make a fucking wedding fucking planning after hearing her talk like this? No, she's a fucking Vault Hunter, yo. She's a fucking she's a beast, yo. She's not gonna sit down and be like, okay, let's see what we could fucking do for you today on your fucking wedding. What kind of cake would you like? No, never.
Little daddy's girl that she is, she'd be all for it, but no.
And see, she says little daddy's girl.
Unfortunately, I forgot that Marcy's dad has more money than God, so he bought off the entire judges panel.
I don't recall the book ever mentioning him, but if it did, it was very brief.
See, that's why I was saying earlier when he was talking about Holloway, I was like, I didn't hear the name he said before Holloway. I was like, man, like I just figured, I just assumed it was Marcy's dad based off of Gage's echo logs. But I guess Anthony Burch forgot that he wrote this fucking 10 years ago too, huh?
And he played no role whatsoever in the plot. Now, he is heard in Borderlands 3 promoting Holloway Robotics and saying how they're going to avenge the death of their daughter, but there's no mention of his wife.
I see us expanding into new territories, refining our production processes, and finally exacting horrible revenge on the rogue killer who murdered my genius daughter in the prime of her life.
Now, I know that
I don't remember this echo from Borderlands 3, but then again, I didn't play Borderlands 3 long enough to go find all the echoes in the game, and this might actually be in one of the DLCs, and I've only played the Handsome Jackpot and the Gage DLC once. I remember vaguely playing through the Cowboy DLC, but I've never played the Krieg DLC. Like, I've not gone through Borderlands 3 like that because it's just not a fun game.
the game was made first, and it even makes sense why they couldn't kill Marcy's dad in this book, because he had to be alive to record this. But now it seems kind of weird, because the book never really mentions him, and Gage acted like she resolved everything by killing the Countess. But that's obviously not true. Something else that was strange in the book is the Countess had a bounty on Gage for 16 billion, when in reality, she debuted with a bounty of 820 billion. That is the highest bounty of all of the Vault Hunters, including Maya, who was a siren. It was meant to show just how rich the Holloway family were to place such a bounty on her. 16 billion is like 2% of what she's actually wanted for, and theoretically it was she and her husband who were the ones who put the bounty on her because
that's actually a pretty good contradiction right there, because I do know I have the Volt Simple Wanted posters right over here framed. And I do know that Gage has the highest bounty on her, and that's because of the Holloway family. But, man, the fact that Eruption Fang pointed that out, that's something I would have had to actually, like, you know, probably wouldn't be able to pull out of the top of my head unless we were, like, you know, discussing that in depth. But, you know, that right there, when I was thinking about it, he's right. 16 billion is kind of a drop in the bucket compared to the original bounty placed on Gage in Borderlands 2.
Because they had more money than God, and theoretically, they've only gotten richer since stealing Gage's DT design. So 16 billion sounds like a lot, but it's actually nothing to what she should be worth to the Holloways.
Drop in the bucket.
But anyway, since this video is still about what happened to the Tales cast after the game, I might as well throw in the others here at the end, though there's not as much to say about most of them. Vaughn became a bandit war chief. He and the other Hyperion employees left behind,
which was another awful decision, because Vaughn is just an insufferable character in the fucking Lilith DLC and in Borderlands 3.
After the fall of Helios, formed a bandit clan and lived in the wreckage. But during the events of Fight for Sanctuary, Colonel Hector showed up and ordered them to give him their moonshot. They refused, but they were unable to fend him and his forces off as they were only equipped with laser pointers. They retreated and formed a new camp at the Backburner. They were getting ready to try and
which is fucked up, because this DLC was put on the back burner by fucking Borderlands, by the fucking Gearbox, fucking for like 5 years, and then they released it in 2018, and then we get a fucking area called the Back Burner, which is Gearbox laughing in our face about them taking a DLC that they could have released years before.
Take Helios, but Hector launched a gas attack that turned everyone but Vaughn into plant monsters. He begrudgingly allows Lilith and the other Crimson Raiders to stay there as they work to take down Hector and his forces. He doesn't do much outside of that. And by the time Borderlands 3 comes around 7 years later, he's still doing the same thing, now running a bandit clan called the Sun Smashers. They came into possession of the Vault map, and his deputy war chief wanted to sell it to the Calypsos. Vaughn disavowed this and went to hide it, but believing that she knew what was best for the clan, his war chief took it to them anyway, and Vaughn was tied up. Due to their greedy motivation to join the cult, all of the Sun Smashers were killed. The Vault Hunters arrive and find him in this upside-down state. He links back up with Lilith and tells her about what happened to the map, but out Hyperion. It's why in happened to the map doesn't do much else. While we've yet to see Janie, Athena is now the CEO of Hyperion. It's why in Borderlands 3 all of the guns have shields.
Yep, that is 100% true. I made a video on that, like, months ago.
But outside of that, we haven't even heard her talk. But as for the others, like Loaderbot, Gortys, or even August, we've yet to see them, so they're—
Loaderbot should have been a playable character in Borderlands 3. The fact that we got Flak instead of Loaderbot is Gearbox spitting in our motherfucking face, and I've said it a million times.
Their fates also remain unknown. And with that, that's what happened to most of the characters after the events of Tales. Like I said, this video was more so meant so I could talk about the book, but I might as well have thrown everyone else in here as well.
Good job, Eruption Fang. That was actually a pretty good video. It was well laid out. He pretty much gave all the same opinions that I was saying as I was saying them. You know what I mean? Like, we were pausing and, like, Eruption Fang. This, like, if Gearbox can't get somebody like me to write the fucking series because they don't want to fuck with me, then they need to get somebody like Eruption Fang to be working on the fucking series with them, because this dude knows the fucking, he knows the series pretty well. Like, he knows the series better than, like, Jolts and K6 and a lot of those people. Like Jolts and K6, Jolts knows the fucking how to play the game. But I wouldn't say that Jolts is very interested in the lore of the game. Jolts has already gone on record and saying that he fucking, that Jolts, you know, he's gone on record saying that he doesn't like movies. He's not really a TV or story guy or anything. He just kind of likes playing the game and breaking the math of the game. And that's fair, you know. But if anything, Gearbox needs to be hitting a dude like this up and be like, bro, we need you to help us fix this fucking story of the game. But Gearbox will never do it because they hate content creators and they only see us as a means to the ends. And they just only want to use you to cover up any negative publicity. And that's what they think content creators are for. And it's sad because we have a lot more to offer this community than just making videos and giving our opinion on the game. But can't tell Gearbox that. So, my name is Jay. MorninAfterKill. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. If you please thumb up on the video, I highly appreciate it because it gives me motivation to make more videos for y'all motherfuckers to watch my motherfucking videos. This is literally 6 o'clock in the motherfucking morning. I'm not even joking with you guys. Look, it's 6 o'clock on a Sunday. And we're sitting here reacting to community videos in the Borderlands series. I might do some more of these though, because there's some other good videos that I've seen in my algorithm recently about the Borderlands series that I wanna take a look at. So maybe we'll do them on stream. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Should I watch some more of this shit on stream, record it, and then put it up on YouTube? I want to know what your thoughts are. My name's Jay, MorninAfterKill. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna see y'all motherfuckers later.